Hi everyone, thank you so much for downloading top tips for dealing with stress from difficult people. I really hope you're going to enjoy this, and most of all, I hope that it's going to benefit you, that it will make a difference in your life. I must apologize that next door for me today there are builders who are banging and drilling, so if you hear some background noise, that's what it is. But we'll keep going. Hopefully it won't interfere too much. Okay, so I just want to introduce myself and just speak a little bit about me. My name is Niamh Kay, and Niamh is an Irish name. It's pronounced Niamh like Neeve, but it is spelled Niamh. That is the Irish language. Like I said, I'm Irish, and I've got a company called Manage with Clarity. It's a name I love because that's what my work is about. When we question our thinking, question the beliefs that are causing our stress, we can manage our lives with much greater clarity. And I practice something called the work of Byron Katie. I've always been interested in personal development, read a lot of books, found them interesting, and didn't implement too much of it in my life. And then I came across the work, and that's a very practical tool that I'm going to introduce you guys to today. And it really worked. I was fascinated by how simple it was, yet on some levels very profound. It's made a huge difference in my life, and so much so that I decided to then train to become a certified facilitator. And that took me about 4 years, and I certified about 2 years ago in California. And I'm really delighted to be able to share this work with others and watch them grow and benefit from it too. So what you've signed up for in this webinar is, I will reveal to you now, the number one mistake people make when they are dealing with difficult relationships, 3 simple steps to free yourself from stress, 7 reasons why re-evaluating the situation is easier than ignoring it. So the number one mistake is blame. It keeps us as a victim. It's very disempowering. And I've written several blogs about this actually. And my blog is www.niamhk.com. And you can go there and check those blogs out in more detail. But basically, like this chicken here, you're not going to benefit at all from blaming the other person. So when you catch yourself wanting to blame, check in with yourself about what has triggered it and work through it. Usually we'll blame because it's easier in some respects to do that. It takes courage to sometimes communicate or to be the one to take action, and that's the positive side of blame. We get to sit and not be responsible, but it's very disempowering and definitely stunts our personal growth. And when we point one finger at somebody to blame them, we are actually pointing 3 fingers at ourselves. Just check that out on your hand and you'll see the 3 fingers pointing at you. The 3 steps to freedom from stress that I mentioned, they are, first of all, we identify precisely what is causing the stress that we're experiencing. You know, often we might feel confused and just feel irritated and you're not sure why. So that's the first thing that I always do with clients, is we pinpoint exactly what's causing the stress, and I'm going to share with you soon how you can do that. The second thing that we do to get free from stress is question the beliefs. Once we identify the beliefs that are surrounding our stress, then we can question them and shift perspective, see it from a different perspective. And then the final thing that we can do, the very empowering thing we can do, is profit from the experience. Use it as an opportunity to grow. So the first thing we do is identify our stressful belief. So if you want to go ahead and write a brief sentence which describes why you were upset with that difficult person, you can do that right now. Pause this recording if need be. Here are some typical examples of why people are stressed with others. A belief that somebody bullied you, that somebody offended you, that somebody was rude to you, or someone broke your trust. He's unsupportive of me, she manipulated me, and he treated me unfairly. There's many more reasons why we might be upset with somebody else, with a difficult person. You go ahead and you can think about that yourself. But for the purpose of this recording today, I'm going to choose an example that I worked through with a client recently, and that's he is unsupportive of me. It's a client who was feeling very unsupported by her boss in her work. So if you are finding a situation where somebody's unsupportive of you and you want to work along with us on this recording, then just get quiet and close your eyes and just zone in on one specific situation. See that image clearly in your mind and stick to it. Stick to that image for the following questions. Do not generalize. Do not find 5 different situations. We're just going to question one specific situation. So just try and remember where you were exactly, what time of day it was, if there was noise around, or just exactly what that image is in your mind. Gets very connected to it. And now we're going to question that image, question the belief surrounding the image. And just before we do that, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you were connected to a person now that you are believing is not supportive of you, how much is that person bothering you right now when you zone in on the situation? You can write down 10 being very stressed, very bothered, and 1 to 4 being not so stressed. So first we write the belief, he or she is unsupportive of me, or you can write their name. And the first question we ask, this is the work of Byron Katie, the 4 questions. The first of the 4 questions is it true that he or she is unsupportive of you in this specific situation? So you look at that image that you have in your mind. And question 2 is, can you absolutely know that it's true that he or she is unsupportive of you? Can you absolutely know that it's true? So with this work, we need an open mind. It helps, really, to look at it from a different angle and think, okay, it seems to me that way, but can I absolutely know that it's true? For the answer, it's 1 syllable. It's either yes or no. The mind will want to go into a long story with justification, etc. Don't. For this work to work, we just keep specifically to answering the questions. And for questions 1 and 2, it's a 1 syllable answer, yes or no. There's no right or wrong answer to this. You're just looking. Question 3. When you're believing that he or she is unsupportive of you in that situation, in that image that you have in your mind, how do you react? What happens when you believe the thought that he's unsupportive of you? So here, just think about the stress, about what it's costing you. You know, you might feel heavy, you might feel discouraged, you might feel very resentful, angry. How do you treat your boss when you're believing that thought, or not your boss, that person in your life, when you're believing the thought that he is unsupportive of you or she? So you can pause the recording and make a list of what happens when you believe that thought. Think about how you treat yourself. Do you feel confident? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel happy when you're believing that thought? Just take a look at where it affects you in your body. You can close your eyes and just see where it hits you. So what you're checking here is what it's costing you. And then we move on to question 4. So with that same situation, with that same image in your mind, who would you be without the thought that he is unsupportive of you? So check here how it feels inside you without the thought. How do you treat that person and yourself without the thought? If you can't possibly believe it, it's like that thought has been numbed from your brain. So get curious. And this is a meditation. So again, you can pause the recording, take a deep breath, and just play with it with curiosity. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just being curious, just checking. Imagine I couldn't believe it. Sometimes we're afraid to let go of the thought. We might think that, oh, if I let go of the thought, if I'm without the thought, then I won't be able to protect myself. And just notice. You could also check that if that's true. Okay, so you can pause the recording and check. And when you're ready to move on, then let's move to the turnarounds. He is unsupportive of me. So the turnarounds, we find three examples, three specific concrete examples in our lives of how it is as true for each turnaround. And the reason we find three specific examples, it's like I said, this is a very practical tool. We're checking our reality. So we're checking how is it as true in that situation that, or even truer sometimes, that it's me who's unsupportive of me. We'll look for examples in a moment. I'm just showing you the turnarounds first. That was the turnaround to self. The second turnaround is the turnaround to other. I am unsupportive of him. So we always go back to the original statement, he is unsupportive of me. And then we turn it around. When we turn it around to self, we have the two subjects turned around to I, to me. And then we just switch the subjects for the turnaround to other. I am unsupportive of him. And we look at situations where that's as true in that situation. And the final turnaround to the turnaround to opposite is he is supportive of me. And we check for examples of where it's as true in that situation where that person is supportive, not unsupportive, but supportive of me. And if you feel resistance, just remind yourself you're doing this for your freedom. It's like digging for treasure, digging for examples. So the first turnaround to self, this were the examples that my client came up with. These are not your examples, but it's just to show you possibilities. And by the way, if you want more possibilities and more examples, go to www.thework.com and you'll see Byron Katie working with clients in videos, and there you'll see lots of turnaround examples as well. So this example is, I depend on him to get me what I want instead of looking at what I can do myself. This was her example with her boss. Another example of how she was unsupportive of herself was she wasn't valuing herself or giving herself credit for what she was capable of, so she wasn't taking any action. Very disempowering. And the final example that she came up with was, I don't get myself the support I need to deal with how the stress from the situation is affecting me. You know, remember what I talked about, the number one mistake we make is we blame. So instead of blaming, it's check, what's going on with me that I need to blame? Let me deal with that instead of blaming. And that's unsupportive towards ourselves. And notice how easy it is to point the fingers at how others are not supporting us when we don't do a very good job of it ourselves. So how do we expect them to? The reason we blame is that it's easier than taking a look inside us. Although when we start to do it, it becomes so freeing that it gets much easier. The turnaround to other, I am unsupportive of him. So what she said here was she definitely didn't check in with him to see how he was doing. I don't put very much energy into understanding how it might be difficult for him to handle. Actually, she'd had the attitude that she couldn't care less about him. So she found that she was totally unsupportive of him. So check in your life if that's also true. That's what we tend to when we're believing that about another person. We're not capable of feeling very supportive towards them. It's all very one-sided. Her other example was, I have not communicated my frustrations to him very well, but find it very easy to criticize his behavior in the situation. So again, and I've written a blog about this, it takes courage to communicate. And she agreed that she hadn't communicated. She hadn't been open about her frustrations. So how could he know? And the third example was, I talk badly about him behind his back and never stand up for him. I thrive on finding evidence to put him down more. So it was a way that she wasn't very proud of, but she was talking about him behind his back with other colleagues and putting him down. So when she could see this, it was very revealing to her. And she was very much opened up to him and more connected to him after she had seen these examples. And yeah, notice how the negativity feels inside you. Does it help the situation? No. When we feel this negativity, when we can open our hearts and our minds towards the other person, it feels a lot nicer inside, a lot warmer. And the final turnaround, the turnaround to opposite, he is supportive of me. So she managed to find some examples of how he was supportive, and that morning he had came in to check with her. If he was really unsupportive of her, he would not have. So he did check in with her. And then she realized that 2 other people had lost their jobs. She still has her job, so he is supportive of her keeping her job. And that's really something in today's at the moment to not to take for granted. So she realized that she had a job that she really valued. And he didn't show any disapproval when I had to leave early for several weeks for a physio appointment. So she could see outside that situation another situation where he was showing support towards her. And finally, where is the gift in it? This is where we can grow from it. This is where we can profit from it, when we can see if it's a friendly universe, if life is friendly, then why might it be a good thing that he is unsupportive of me? How could that work for me? If life is friendly, life is good, why would a difficult situation come into my life like this? So you can think about that in your situation. For example, that person is giving you the chance to exercise your communication muscle or your courage muscle to communicate, that person is giving you a chance to step up and empower yourself. Be more independent, not dependent. So think about it. Where is the gift in it for you, for them, and for the universe? And Byron Katie says, as long as you think that the cause of your problem is out there, as long as you think that anyone or anything is responsible for your suffering, the situation is hopeless. It means that you are forever in the role of victim. And the website that I mentioned earlier is www.thework.com, and you can go there to find video examples and a lot more detailed description of how to do the work. So another tip regarding how to deal with the stress from difficult people is ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be free? This simple question can really help because the mind, the human mind and the ego, it's the job of the ego is to be right, to defend itself, and it's so the opposite to freeing. So just letting go, taking a deep breath and letting go, and just, Byron Katie actually said, I remember at Christmas, if you want to give somebody a nice Christmas gift, let them be right. So play with that. It can be really freeing. So the I know mind is a term used also in the work. Beware of this I know mind, the mind that believes it knows the answers. And sometimes out of fear, the mind will want to protect us. Notice if you feel strong resistance looking for examples of how he's supportive. This I know mind, that knows that he's unsupportive, might feel resistant. So if you do feel resistant, ask yourself the question, what do I fear would happen if I find examples that favor them? And list those fears. And then you can take those to inquiry. You can question those, apply those 4 questions. If you fear, it means that they'll be getting away with it, that they don't deserve any kind thoughts from me, or I'd be letting them walk all over me, or it would make me feel guilty. Any of these thoughts that you have, question them and get clear. Find your clarity. They deprive us of our freedom from the stress. Remember that your motivation for doing this is for your own freedom, not for theirs. It's nice if they get some freedom from it too, but we are not trying to let them off the hook here. And if they did something that deserves reporting, then of course it should be reported. Though there are 2 ways to do this, with or without stress. And that's what I love about this work, that we can still go ahead and take those necessary measures, but without stress. I can share with you personally, I'm involved in a legal battle at the moment, and I'm amazed at how unstressed I am about it, and it's thanks to this work. I'm just taking the necessary steps and just trusting that it's going to turn out the way that it should. So tip number 3, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. This is my mantra. I love this. Life is friendly. And when we're believing something is happening to us, we're feeling like a victim. Poor me. This shouldn't be happening to me. But if we look at with curiosity, why is this challenge coming into my life, and how can I use this challenge to grow from? It's much more empowering. And Malcolm X said, "There's no better than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own lesson on how to improve your performance the next time." So if you feel triggered again by a difficult person, just remember it contains its own seed, its own lesson on how to improve your performance the next time, how to improve your communication and your way of dealing with it the next time, so that you can serve as an example and also just feel much freer and much more empowered. Taking the approach that we can learn, grow, and enrich ourselves through adverse circumstances beats being a victim hands down. And also you can thank them in your mind if you don't want to do it personally to them. I mean, you definitely don't want to do it sarcastically, but if you feel genuinely grateful that they brought this situation into your life and it gave you the chance to check in and get clear and grow and learn. That's, for example, what happened with my client who had come to the session feeling like such a victim and discouraged and lack of confidence, and left feeling so much more empowered. And she could see the gift in what had happened with her boss. So she was able to thank him. And actually, there's a great book called Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. And in this book, he says there's a theory that before we come to Earth, that we actually ask these difficult people to play certain roles in our lives so that we might use those situations to grow from. We've no proof that this is true, but I love this idea. And it's a nice way to look at those situations when those apparently difficult, inverted commas, difficult people come into your life, is to say, oh, okay, if I had asked this person to play a role in my life, then how might I want to grow from it with a clear mind? And this is a client testimonial from somebody who had also done some work with me, which I loved. "I have grown so much through our work that I wouldn't change what happened if I could. I now know that no one has the power to victimize me, even if they try. I have learned that it's my thoughts and subsequent reactions to their behavior that causes my pain. And I never would have felt motivated to enrich myself with this personal development work if it had not been for the apparent bully. I never thought I would say it, but I truly feel grateful to her." And that's just so amazing to be able to come to that point. It's so empowering. And what comes to my mind always, I love to use the example of Nelson Mandela. What an example, 27 years in prison, and what he was able to do. It's a real inspiring example of an empowered being, not a victim. Tip number 4, know that it's not personal. The other person has their own interests, not, they really don't set out to hurt you. Unpleasant behavior is motivated by fear. Greed, control, betrayal, power abuse, it's all motivated by fear. It's not motivated from a happy person or place. If you think about it and do inquiry, ask those questions and really get to sit in the answers and understand the other person, you'll see how in their minds it's fear and definitely not personal. It doesn't mean it excuses their behavior, but we are no longer a victim of their behavior. Though, like I said before, we do still take empowered action if it's necessary. Think about situations where you are guilty of what you accuse them of, even if it's to a lesser degree. And that's again like in the turnarounds, where we turn the thought around to ourselves and look at, how am I in that situation not supportive, or how am I in that situation being a bully towards them? And this can really help to just see that we're all human. Tip number 5, move your body. So this is for the times where don't feel like writing something down, and just getting out, getting some air, moving can make such a difference. If you don't feel motivated to question your thinking, it gets us out of our heads. Any kind of physical movement, yoga or cycling, swimming, whatever, just it all helps with giving the busy mind syndrome a break. And the attachment to the situation loses its velcro. Velcro, like the when you really firmly and tightly are attached to a belief, it feels stressful. But when you're not so attached to the belief, it feels a lot less stressful. Tip number 6, set an intention for how you would like your relationship with that person to be. So think about it. Ideally, if you were this really empowered, courageous being, how would you like your relationship with that person to be? How would you like to communicate with them and interact with them? Set an intention for it to move in that direction and put this in writing. And it's amazing how the universe listens. You'll be amazed what might happen. And I love Gandhi's quote, be the change you want. Whatever it is, whatever way that you want them to change, turn it around and be that change. You can make a list of advice, shoulds they're called. How should that person be different? And then let that person go about their business, go back to your own business and see how can you be that example in your life. Again, much more empowering and another way to grow. And there's we quiet the what's the point mind in that situation. This is not a term from the work. It's one I made up. That when the mind says, what's the point in doing that? Why would I do that? The person is a waste of time. Just use the situation and thank the person for giving you that opportunity to grow. Tip number 7 is put it in perspective. Ask yourself this question. Will this matter a year from now? This is a great reminder. And that's from the author of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And I love to, to compare. If we're going to compare down. That's what I always say, put it in perspective and think, it could be worse. And seriously, is this as big a deal as I'm making it out to be in this moment? It's amazing how the mind will exaggerate it. So make sure you have no regrets about how you handled it. The reality is you never know what's around the corner. Compare them to someone worse and appreciate their strengths. And again, list it on paper. Tip number 8, let the physical effects of the stress motivate you into action. So remember when we were asking the question, how do you react? What happens when you believe the thought that that person is not supporting you? And I said, get still and just check in your body where it's hitting you. Often we'll get a tight throat when we don't communicate. We'll get tense shoulders. We'll feel it in our heart. You might feel it in your stomach and your diaphragm, the anger. So all of these effects, they're having a negative effect on our body. And it's really good for your health to do this kind of work, because when you are able to let go of a belief, then the physical symptoms also disappear. So just check, these are typically how the situation can affect you physically. Tension in the diaphragm, the throat, the jaw, or elsewhere. Low energy, you're drained because you're spending a lot of energy on that situation. And you could be using it creatively for some exciting other project. Do take care of the physical ailments, but deal with the source. Identify the source of your stress and question your thinking. Tip number 9, don't go into story. And that's really what I was talking about, the mind again that exaggerates, it thinks it gives a lot of energy to the situation and goes into a big story, and that nobody else can see outside, but on the inside, you know what I'm talking about, when that busy mind syndrome is going on. So don't give it the energy, just take it to paper, take it to the work, those 4 questions, and that busy mind will go away. The mind goes around in circles, creating more and more evidence, drama, confusion, and stress about the situation. Don't do it. Just ask the questions, or get somebody to help you, to hold you in the work, is what it's called, to ask the questions for you, or drop me an email. Don't waste energy on letting your mind go round and round. It's not a very efficient way of dealing with it. And Confucius said, what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. So remember that also, to take care of yourself. I should also mention that there's nothing wrong with doing that if you want to. If you feel that in that moment that's all you can do, you can also just be with the stress, be with the anger, be with the pain. Don't resist it. That's sometimes what I do as well, is just to let it in. It's Rumi has a great poem about just letting in all those negative emotions as well, called The Guest House. You can Google it, it's fantastic. And that's something you can do also. And then what I like to do is also question it. Audrey Hepburn has a beautiful quote: "For beautiful eyes, look for the good in others. For beautiful lips, speak only words of kindness. And for poise, walk with the knowledge that you are never alone." And that's great advice from a very beautiful woman. Tip number 10 is stay out of other people's business. It's none of my business what others think of me. And the reality is that we're never going to be able to get everyone to like us. It's just not possible, because everyone is different and with different motives. So in the work, we've got 3 types of business: my business, other people's business, and God's business. So my business is what I have for breakfast, what I eat, what I think, what I do, how I react. It's my business. Other people's business, what they think, what they do to us, what they say to us. It's their business. Our business is how we react to that. And God's business is things like acts of God: thunder, lightning, tree falling on your car, things like that. They're God's business. The future is also God's business. We really don't know what the future holds for us. It's God's business. What another says or does is their business. How we react to it is our business. So always come back to our business and empower yourself with, instead of being filled with advice for them, because that's pointless, it's their business, come back and give that advice to yourself. Come back to our business. And Byron Katie also says that if you're feeling alone or stressed, just check out whose business are you in at that moment. And very often we're in somebody else's business. So come back to your own business and deal with what's going on for you. So when you implement all of these tips, then ask yourself, if you do this with a difficult person in your life, ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much is that person bothering me right now? And more often than not, it will reduce substantially. This work, like I said, it's simple, those 4 questions, yet really effective. And I would so recommend that you implement it into your life. And here's some reasons why. Why it's reevaluating the situation, the difficult situation with a person, is easier than ignoring it. And here they are. So no more unfair blaming, which is so destructive. No more negative energy, dulling your creativity and your zest for life. Once you shift that negative energy, you're back to enjoyment, creativity, fun, number 2. Number 3 is no more feeling like a victim. You've taken a new, empowered stance, like Nelson Mandela. Number 4, here he is. Do you want to strive to be a Nelson Mandela example or someone less admirable? And I find that useful to ask myself as well if I'm struggling. No, I really want to strive to be somebody that I really admire. Number 5, no more physical ailments, depression or anxiety linked to stress from difficult relationships. Number 6, what we feel towards others, we feel towards ourselves. And this I notice, if I'm working with a client, when I ask the question, how do you treat yourself when you're believing that thought? Notice if we're feeling negativity towards somebody else, we're feeling it towards ourselves on some level as well. It's really interesting to notice that. And it's because it's all projection. And that's for another day, that story. Do you want to feel hard-hearted towards yourself or soft-hearted? And number 7 is be the change you want. Like I mentioned earlier, Mahatma Gandhi. Serve as an example to others, especially the next generation. You know, this is how I want my children to see an empowered reaction, not to be victims. So these are just some reasons why reevaluating the situation is easier than ignoring it. And I'd so recommend that you implement this into your life for freedom. And what I would love to offer you, because you have listened to this webinar to the end, is the Freedom Coaching Program, and that's for for you to practice this work. I would like to offer 3 55-minute private coaching sessions with me. Sometimes they're a little bit longer depending on the situation, or a little bit shorter. Sometimes people can get a clear mind within 20 minutes. It's really amazing. And usually I charge $200 per session. But for today, since you've just listened to this, as a reward for listening, I'm offering those 3 sessions for $497. So this is a limited offer. I will be replacing this recording soon. And if you're interested, just email info@niamhk.com with the subject heading "Signing up for my freedom." Please make sure to use that subject heading, because I do get a lot of emails and I will definitely prioritize that email from you. I would be so excited to work with you, to help you on your journey of getting free from the stress of the difficult people in your life. So please just open an email message and email me right now, and we can sort that out. You can also actually go directly to www.thefreedomcoachonline.com, and you can pay by PayPal there. That's www.thefreedomcoachonline.com. So thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that this has helped you. Please do send me an email with your feedback, or if you've got any questions also, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And like I said earlier, you can also check out thework.com for further information about this work. Thank you so much. Bye bye.